going for me in my life. There are several people, and I don't know why they come to mind right now that I look forward to, and I wish that I had more time. One is my friend. Now, we didn't talk that much. John Steinrich. He is a musician, and I didn't know he was a social worker. John is a guy that my wife Kelly. He is the husband of my wife Kelly. He is a husband of my wife's good friend Chantel. Man, they're getting ready to move to Texas, but he and I don't know. I've always wanted to meet up and talk to him. We actually did a podcast on his wife's podcast more recently. And I did not know he was a social worker. Did not know it. Did not know. I knew he was a musician, a great musician, but I did not know he was a social worker by trade. And I really wish I had an opportunity to talk to him some more, because sometimes getting different points of view from other people, this is part of that empathic thing that I tell you about. As an empath, that you feel things. And it's like sometimes I feel connections with people, and I just get a chance to work with them. John was always busy. Whenever I met up and whenever we went up to LA to go see them perform, it was always like they were putting on a show. It was never a chance to sit down and chill out and have a drink, talk about life, see what's going on and things like that. But, eventually I would like to be able to get to that point where we get up and take a trip and fly out to go visit them. They're moving to Texas. I don't know how soon, but it's going to be pretty soon. But there are certain people that I probably bring up that I would like to get to know. And whether you know them or not really isn't the issue. But for me, there are those people that that I've met along my journey that I would like to have gotten to know a little bit better, or will get to know. I do look forward to currently with what we're doing with my company, Bridge Visions. We're moving in a new direction, and previously we were doing, our tagline was community engagement and content creation by camera, drone, or microphone. And that was the first few years of Bridge Visions. But now we're moving into a wellness company. And my wife and I have both become TIR facilitators, trauma incident reduction facilitators. And trauma is where we're looking at moving, and that's the direction we're moving in towards. The thing about trauma is everybody has them. Yeah, I was younger. I had a lot of trauma that I went through, mental, physical trauma that I received. And I think everybody has it. And working with other individuals to get through their trauma, I think it's one of those things that is close to me. Working in the prison system allowed me to have thousands and thousands of my own self-taught, self-activated case studies. There would be days where I'd deal with a guy who was an absolute asshole, male and female both, where I dealt with them and I was like, oh my gosh. They were doing things that just were not, just ruined my day, or try to attempt to ruin my day at work. And I sit back and I say, you know what? Tomorrow, I'm gonna be nice to him. I'm gonna see what's gonna happen. And I would try it. Sometimes it turned the tides of war immediately. Pull a guy out to the side. Sometimes I had to act like I had to pull that upper hand and get a little, when they started rising up, getting high, I had to get that much more higher to bring it down. And I found it interesting in those case studies how I approached and how I handled those individuals, and how just sometimes just being nice changes everything. And that was one of the premises of why I always tried to interact with people. And I always tried to, I kept a persona when I went into work. It's interesting. I'm going to tell you this. The other day, was that yesterday morning, might have been yesterday morning. I got up, I had a dream that I was actually working back in the prison again, and it was so vivid. There are times you have to go into work and you have to act cold to a lot of stuff. You have to shut off a lot of sensors. Like, real talk. I'm going to get a little graphic here. But there were times, you know, here I am as a black man. Oh my gosh, I would hear the word nigger thrown at me every day. I'm not going to say every day, but you hear it a lot. You know, and if you're not hearing the word nigger thrown at you, obviously because we're in San Diego and we're close to the border, you're hearing all the different forms of nigger that in different languages and different ways, from Spanish or Mexicans, from all different people. And I found out that, you know, lots of times you had to get a thick skin to that. You know, hearing someone cursing at you, yelling at you, because they're pissed. They're locked up in prison. Of course they're going to be pissed off. But some people don't necessarily take, as I mentioned earlier, that nice approach. There have been other times when I have helped somebody and I was nice, and I'll give you this great example. One time I was on the unit, and we used to get these phone calls from other staff to say, hey, we need you to get inmate Rodriguez out for a legal visit. And I got to go get his card that identifies who he is. And I go find out wherever he's at in the unit. And I call him out and I take him out to the visiting room so he can get his legal visit or maybe even a family visit. This one time in general, I reached out, the phone rang, I picked up and they said, Rodriguez got a visit. So before I went to the office, I knew where Rodriguez stayed at. So I looked up to the thing and I rang and said, hey, Rodriguez, hey, can you let Rodriguez know I got a visit for him? And he's got a visit. And the guy go, okay, all right, Davis. And he walks off and I go to the office to go get my paperwork, to go get his visitor, to go get his card. And when I got the card, I go over to the range where he's at, open it up, and he comes out. And I say, hey, thanks Jimenez for getting him. And he goes, no problem. And I started to walk out to go take Rodriguez out. And all of a sudden I hear this guy screaming, hey, and I'm thinking there's a fight. So I turn back around to go run over back to that range. And this guy, he's yelling. And he's like, and he's hanging at the bars and he's yelling and he's like, man, who said that? What happened? I was like, what's going on, man? He goes, you said thank you. That's right. I said, thank you. You said thank you. You said thank you. I've been in it for 3 months and I've never heard anybody say anything nice in here. You said thank you. I had to see who it was that said that. And I looked at him and it really hit me. It didn't hit me then, but it really hit me that there are some people that never have heard those nice words spoken to them. I thought it was really big. It wasn't one of those things that I always said thank you after that, but it was one of those things that made me realize that how words can change the day. And it's always important. So that's my thing for today. Another session done down, another radiation treatment done. I am getting ready to head home. The sun is coming up here now, and it's been interesting because these last couple of days, the sun has been coming up earlier, it seems like. Who knows? Maybe this is a cyclical change that is going on with I know we had a new moon just recently. That's another thing too. I used to never pay attention to these things that were going on around me as much as I have now. And to realize that there are certain times of the day when I hear someone, oh, it's a full moon today. I didn't really pay attention to those things until I started recognizing that during the full moon, I would notice that the raccoons would come out at night and they'd mess around in my pool. You know, I see the little paw prints going across the edge of the pool, and it'd always be in time with a full moon. A lot of things going on cyclically that I never was aware of and I never paid attention to. You just go about doing your everyday thing, but there are things that are in nature that are all around us that bring out the best. Some people used to say, when there's a full moon, watch out in prison, because people are at their craziest. Now, my brother is a San Diego police officer, and I'm sure he could probably attest to that if he pays attention to it. But I never paid attention and used my environment to help me as much as I did. And going back to what I was saying even earlier than that, as an empath, I did not realize I was using my ability to feel. I was using my ability to feel to communicate with those people and to connect with those inmates that were under my stead. I used that to feel how they were doing. I could walk into a unit and get a sense of what's going on by feel. And I never thought that there was anything wrong with it, but I always used it to my advantage. When I could feel tension, I made sure I was much more vigilant making my rounds in the unit. When I felt that things were more loose, I kind of loosened up myself. But I knew that inherently things were going on that were above me or below me. And I adjusted accordingly, and I never knew what was going on until now. I never recognized that. Similar to how I told you a minute ago, I recognized these moon changes, these lunar changes and things like that. So feel has been very big for me. I guess that's my word of the day. Feel, being in feel. Feel what's going on in your life. Feel where you're going at, and just feel. Stop for that moment and feel where you're at in your life, because you just don't even know what's going on around you. When you stop and take a moment to realize what's going on around you in your life, where you're going at, what you're doing, you could get there a whole lot easier, or you can make it worse. Try to feel what's going on. Instead of just working off of instinct, try to feel. Try to feel. That's my word for the day. Sammy D, I'm out. Another session done. Peace.